Hey, Wimberg World Entertainment, and of course, San Diego Comic Con has just wrapped up, and we've got a lot of information regarding Alien and Predator, what's happening in these universes, and of course, we have Predator Badlands coming out in November, and we've gotten a lot of detail, including what happens in the first 15 minutes of this movie. Now, that part will contain some mild spoilers. You've actually seen a lot of what it describes in the trailer, so I don't think it's that much of a spoiler, but just to warn you, if you don't want to really know anything about it, it will contain a bit of spoilers. But we also have some reactions from Dan Trachtenberg himself with something he's saying about what they have in this movie that he thinks is the best that's ever happened. And we hear a little bit from Ella Fanning as well. So we'll talk a bit about the first 15 minutes, the opening 15 minutes of Badland, and what's described here in total. So if you don't really want to know what it is, again, it's in the trailer, but if you don't want to know the actual breakdown of the scene, this would be the time to turn away, because this will have, again, pretty much spoilers, I guess. Again, though, it's all in the trailer. But we do get clarification from this information who the other predators are that we've seen in the trailer. The one without the mask that we think, is that meant to be his father? Because we told his father is here. Deck, that is, of course, our main protagonist. That's actually his brother. The one we've all been wondering about with the grey dreadlocks, that's the father. So we find out right now about how this all plays out and how we know who's who. So, again, if you don't want to know what the opening 15 minutes are, turn away now. But here it is. So, there's a desolate desert planet in the distance. A predator drives a hover ship like the cycle scene in Killer of Killers. It's revealed that Deck, the lead predator character, is piloting it. He uses an energy grappling hook to get up to a cave where it becomes clear what he's looking for. His brother, Kui, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, so we'll just call it Kui. They have a prolonged sword fight, jumping around on the pieces of the cave, and having an extended discussion about honor. Kui gets the upper hand on Deck, and seemingly sends him falling to his doom. However, Deck catches himself and climbs back up, where it's revealed that his brother has a clear fondness for him that he can't always show. The pair leaves the cave and goes to Kui's ship. They have a bonding moment over something from their childhood. Deck used the toy to save Kui and broke his tusk in the process, but Kui kept the toy to remember. I'm assuming when it says tusk, they mean one of his mandibles. I'm not 100% sure about that part, but whatever. They're not tusks, they're mandibles. So it says anyway, Kui tells his brother it's time for him to take his vow, pick his prey, hunt them, and return. Deck decides on a planet with a beast that even their father fears. As they're planning Deck's journey, another cycle approaches, carrying their dad, the chieftain of their clan. Their father chastises Kui for not killing his brother, noting that Deck is the runt of the clan and can only bring them honor in death. Kui says he deserves the chance to hunt, but their father forces restraints on Deck and tells Kui to kill him. Rather than swing his sword at his brother, though, Kui swings it down and frees him, activating a grappling hook and sending his brother back into the ship. Kui begins to activate the ship using his wrist computer, but his father takes action due to his betrayal. Kui and the chieftain have a sword fight of their own, while Deck watches helplessly inside the ship. Their father gets the upper hand and slices off Kui's arm, kicking him to the ground. Kui has a choice: go for his own sword and defend himself, or grab his severed arm. As his father lifts his head to strike the killing blow, Kui holds the arm in his other hand and activates the ship. Inside, Deck flies back as the launch sequence initiated, sending him off to the planet to face the beast and earn his place in the clan. So again, that's the opening 15 minutes. And again, that's all stuff we've seen in the trailer. So we've seen the Predator dragging himself with a severed arm. And of course we were asking, is that Deck? It's not. It's the brother Qui with the father walking up. We've seen the moment of Deck being pulled into the ship. We've seen all of that. We've seen the fight with the swords and one falling from a great height. All of that is in the trailer. So again, it's not really a spoiler, except for the conversation of the brother saying, you know, he deserves a chance to fight and come back with honor. And again, you're seeing how they're talking about this honor code with the Predators, which is interesting that Dan Trachtenberg is putting that back into this when we're seeing the likes of Killer of Killers, where they're taking the victors who won over a Predator back, which is kind of going against an honor code, really. But then we hear this that's saying one for the books, and it's what Dan Trachtenberg was saying about the movie, and of course Elle Fanning talks a bit about it. So this is saying, not only did the cast and crew of Predator Badlands take to the stage of Hall H yesterday, many press outlets also had the chance to sit and talk to the people bringing the latest edition of the Predator universe to life. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly of the action and violence in Predator Badlands, while he didn't go into specifics of the scene, Dan Trachtenberg teased what he considers to be one of the most violent acts in a Predator film. Now, it's interesting it says Entertainment Weekly, because the interview I saw with him was with MTV, but this is what he said anyway. There is a spine rip in the movie that is one for the books. I think it rivals any from the other entries in the franchise. Now, that's an interesting thing to take on board, what he's saying there, that there's this spine rip that is one for the books, rivals it all. Why is that interesting and very kind of really? Well, there's no humans in this movie. None whatsoever. Every person you see is a synthetic. So, are they saying we're going to see him rip out a synthetic spine? Because we know kind of who he ends up having to face by the end of the movie, which I won't spoil. But is that where they're going? Is it this giant beast, the unkillable thing? Is he ripping that thing's spine out? We're not quite sure. So the fact that he's saying, you know, this thing is going to rival anything from any of the other movies, yet it's either he's ripping the spine out of a creature, which, you know, how could that really rival watching a human getting their spine and skull ripped out? Or is it doing it to a synthetic, which even then you kind of have to question, well, does that really count, being the fact that it's a synthetic? It's interesting. But then it's saying, talking about the physicality of the action in the film, Trachtenberg commented on both Taya and Deck kicking some butt in the movie. The action was actually one of the elements that led to Elle Fanning's joining the project, where she said, I'd never done a role that required this much physicality and fight training and learning fight choreography. That was new territory for me. And all that type of stuff. So she basically joined this because she's getting to do fight scenes and physicality things. And it was interesting, actually, if you see the interview, at least the one I saw with MTV, she talks about how they did her being attached to Deck's back. What's the Demetrius Schuster Kalamantangi or something, however you pronounce his bloody name. Demetrius, anyway, the guy who's playing it. That she was actually attached to his back, but they were basically attached to overhead cables. So that's how they actually did it. He wasn't just actually carrying this girl on his back throughout the movie, but she was attached to harnesses and stuff, and they had to jump through trees and all this type of stuff together. So I thought that was interesting. I don't quite understand how Dan Trachtenberg and stuff, and even Elle Fanning is talking about she's going to be super physical and kick some real ass in this movie, when it's like, you're half a person in this movie. You've no lower half. How exactly are you kicking ass? So, yeah, look, after seeing the trailer and stuff, I unfortunately think this movie is going to bomb. I really do. I think I've already seen so many comments from people saying, oh god, more girl boss and insufferable looking character and all this type of stuff. I absolutely get it. It is unfortunate that I think this thing will absolutely bomb at the box office. But I'm still very curious to see it. Elle Fanning also hinted at something that she wasn't meant to, but she kind of sneakily said it with Dan Trachtenberg there and kind of gave this little grin, which is indicating that they are setting something up, which I would assume is AVP. But I guess we'll have to actually just wait and see what actually comes of this. So that's what happens anyway in your first 15 minutes, and apparently there's going to be a spine rip to rival all spine rips, and Elle Fanning hinting at the future of the franchise as well as talking about why she took the role. So there's interesting stuff in there. I just don't think that trailer did them any favors, so we'll have to wait and see. So with that, I shall leave it there for this one. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.